Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Poultry Nutrition Blackbelt Podcast. I'm here, Kelly Walmsley. Today, I'm joined by Matthew Jones, not to be confused with the Matthew Jones from Breaking Bad, right? We've got Dr. Matthew Jones, who is the Director of Nutrition and Veterinarian at Southern Poultry Research Group. Hey, Matthew, thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, really interesting, sometimes you have homes divided, right? When people go to two different schools and, or two different professions. We've got a lot of people, I know somebody that's, around in Georgia there that's veterinarian and the nutritionist, but you don't often see somebody who is a veterinarian and a nutritionist. There are some out there, but you're one of those. So how is that in battling internally?
Yeah. I tell people a lot that I see the world very gray. It's not a very black or white world that I live in. But I always win the arguments and I always lose the arguments, no matter what.
I love it. So your background is you graduated, all your degrees are from University of Georgia, right?
That's correct. Yes, I went to University of Georgia for undergrad, and then transitioned into graduate school for a short period, and then went to vet school, did graduate school over the summers, and then finished up my graduate program after vet school.
I can't imagine that, but more power to you for sure. So what are your kind of thoughts and, tying that into the research that you do, with a lot of challenge work, a lot of formulations. What are some of the things that you see and some of the areas that you're most interested in and you think are something that we need to be aware of?
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to start by backing out just a little bit and talking about like the types of challenges that we work with and then maybe like what a baseline diet would look like for us. So as far as the challenges that we do, probably 40 to 50% of them are going to be enteric models. So that's either going to be Eimeria challenges, whether it's Acerulina, Maximo, Tenella, or a combination thereof, and necrotic enteritis. So adding Clostridium perfringens to that Eimeria component. And then the next largest category of studies that we do is food safety. So Salmonella and Campylobacter, maybe just say 30%. And then the remainder are other challenge models that are a little bit less popular at the moment. So Enterococcus is becoming more and more popular recently. Pasteurella multocida, E. coli, avian pathogenic E. coli. And then beyond that would be more performance specific type studies. And so for the most part, when I formulate, I'm trying to make the diets as applicable as possible so that when they do a challenge model, if it's successful and they want to go speak to an integrator about it, then their integrator doesn't look at the diet and say, that's completely different from what we might use. And so really, I'm just trying to stay as middle ground as possible so that it's as applicable to as many people as possible. But, just like you're saying, there's so many interactions between nutrition and host and disease. And so we get a lot of questions about how the diets that we're using are interacting with those challenges. And so we do on occasion look at our diets and compare them with alternatives to see how they might interact with our challenges. And we also look at the challenges in some cases and how they interact with nutrition. So a specific example of that, if you're interested in maybe a Campylobacter example, probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we did a study with low and high crude protein diets. And by low and high crude protein diets, what I did is I formulated with methionine and lysine as my synthetic amino acids for one diet, which ended up being about 24% crude protein. And then the other diet.
And we're talking, sorry to interrupt you, but we're talking about the starter phase, right?
Yes, that is correct. It was a short study, a 28-day study in this case. But the starter diet was 24% crude protein in one case. And then in the other diet, I added as many synthetics as possible. And so that one ended up being about 18% crude protein. Just to back up a moment, kind of the premise for looking at this was we know that certain bacteria require different substrate to grow. So, if we were growing Campylobacter in the laboratory, we're going to use a specific media to help grow it. And so really the thought process is, what kind of media are we feeding to that bird to help the Campylobacter grow in this case?
I like that. I really like that. That's cool. Yeah. I like that analogy.
So we had these two groups. We gavaged them with Campylobacter at 14 days. Usually we see in the field birds go positive around 14 days, which is why we did that. Orally gavaged them at 14 days. And then we looked in the SICA for CFU, colony forming units per gram, on 7 days and 14 days post-challenge. And what we found was that in both groups, they colonized at about 8 logs, so 10 to the 8 CFU per gram of SICA in both the low and high crude protein diets at both time points. And so in this case, we didn't see any differences. Not to say that there couldn't be further down the road if we were to take these diets to the grower finisher phases.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So is that something that you all might be looking into, taking that into that research any further to look at differences?
Yeah, so we will definitely continue looking at differences. It's kind of a personal interest of mine to see how nutrition and disease might interact with one another. Now, the next direction we might take it may be more on the mineral side, or it might be on the electrolyte side even, to see how differences on that metric might change Campylobacter colonization. But also looking at necrotic enteritis and Eimeria challenges, and how different dietary manipulation might influence those challenges as well.
What is one of the biggest challenges in kind of formulating diets and looking at disease research?
Yeah. So that's in my specific context. One of the challenges that I have is keeping it as basal as possible, and in doing so, there's a couple reasons, but we typically don't use alternative. We don't use DDGS. We don't use meat and bone meal. It's corn, soy, and then the minors. And that does, in my instance, have certain challenges, because I agree with Dr. Sam Rochel's presentation a while back on soybean meal and its interaction with the gastrointestinal tract. There's definitely an interaction there, and if you exceed a certain limit, I think it starts to feed into these models to some extent. And so in my specific context, I try to set limitations on that. So it's a little bit of a balance on that side of there's other things that influence models, specifically challenge models, but I don't typically manipulate them. So just kind of to name a few would be calcium can cause changes to our, especially necrotic enteritis models, and non-starch polysaccharide containing enzymes. So wheat, barley, rye, there are people that utilize those as their challenge model or part of their challenge models. Whereas we use protozoal Eimeria to really incite our necrotic enteritis. But yeah, those definitely can be manipulated to change that challenge. Absolutely.
Great. Yeah, I think I appreciate your response and your time today. And I guess if we are, kind of wrapping up, but what's something that you want to kind of leave everybody with?
Oh man. Um, yeah. To kind of close in the same way you opened, there are a multitude of interactions between the host, disease, and nutrition. And I think that we really need to dive deeper into all of these categories, because, as we were talking about earlier, there's a lot to understand about mineral interactions, as well as dietary electrolyte balance in these given models. And I think that they could be influencing the outcomes. And so, really, I guess to wrap this up, nutrition can and needs to be a part of an overall holistic health program for every broiler or layer producer out there.
Yeah.
The 2023 Arkansas Nutrition Conference Technical Symposium is brought to you by Kerry. Proven on the farm, trusted on the plate. Let our technologies help make your production goals a reality. Learn from the experts how carbohydrases improve nutrient utilization. Gut health technologies differ by type. Innovative ways to feed and a novel technology that will light your performance on fire. See us August 29th in Little Rock.
Well, I have one more question for you, Matthew. So since we are on the Poultry Nutrition Black Belt, Jackie Chan or Chuck Norris?
Chuck Norris.
Okay, great. Well, I really appreciate your time, and it's been great catching up with you, and I look forward to seeing you here soon at some meetings and looking at what else you've got going on. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. We'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Hey, everyone. We're always searching for the latest and greatest research to share each week. And if you have a poultry nutrition related research trial and would like to come on the show and talk about it and share it with us, feel free to email the research link, the paper where we can find it, or the abstract to hello@wisenetics.com. That's hello@wisenetics.com. And I look forward to hearing from you.